always. My boy Big John's in here and Jose's in here. A lot of games to cover from last weekend. A lot of the ranked teams lost, and kind of some big matchups again this weekend. So we're going to cover it all. We even got a little college basketball that we're going to throw in this episode for y'all as well and go over some bets. And then at the end of the show, once again, we'll give you our dog parlay of the week like we do every week. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and hop right into this thing. Oregon goes to Michigan 38-17 dub. If you were betting Michigan plus 15.5, bad beat. Scored with like 25 seconds left to cover in that game. But Oregon goes into town and really handles their business. Georgia gets a dub at home against Florida, 34-20 home dub. That game was pretty close for a lot of the game. Should we continue to kind of put a question mark on Georgia or with Carson Beck, or do you think that they'll be okay? They'll handle their business with the playoff, and then because of their experience in the playoffs, they'll be okay.
John, go ahead. That's your team.
Carson Beck sucks.
I've been struggling.
He don't have anyone to throw to. He sucks. He makes bad decisions. It's going to cost them in the playoffs. The defense keeps bailing him out. DJ Lagway getting hurt probably bailed him out.
I think that won him the game. Well, not won him, but it helped.
Yeah, it definitely helped. I don't know. I don't know. Something's got to change. The decision making, or if Dylan Raiola was still there, he might have seen some playing time, and who knows what would have happened. But regardless, something's got to change. So he's going to cost that team in the playoffs, unless if they get there. If they lose to Ole Miss this week and then Tennessee pulls off an upset, they won't even be there. So,
yeah, I don't think the final score is indicative of how close that game actually was.
Yeah.
Georgia was really struggling. If Lagway probably doesn't get hurt, they have a real shot at winning that game, in my opinion. We should be very concerned with Georgia, but I'll save that for later on in the podcast when we break down the Ole Miss Georgia game.
Ohio State goes to Penn State 20-13 dub. I'm telling you right now, that's the last straw for me on Penn State. For the rest of my life in this game, my automatic bet will be Ohio State as soon as the line drops every year. I'm done. I'm done with Penn State. I'm done. Go ahead.
Tyler, are you referring to Penn State when they play Ohio State, or are you referring to Penn State when they play against like an actual good team?
No, I'm saying in Ohio State, Penn State, in that one particular matchup, as soon as the line drops, I don't care if the line drops in June, I'm betting Ohio State. Off the rip. I'm done betting Penn State in this game. I can't do it no more. That they got all the way down to the 3-yard line, ran the same play 3 times in a row, and then drew up some whatever that was on 4th down to be able to tie the game. I'm done with it. I'm not doing it no more. Penn State's on auto fade against Ohio State for the rest of my life. I can't do it, man. I can't do it.
Again, is that while they have James Franklin as coach though, or is it just in general? Just the helmets are enough. The logo on the helmet is enough.
As of right now, I may, if something changes, if James Franklin is not the head coach, I may change my mind. As of right now, it's just the helmets. They walk out in the unis. I don't care if it's at noon or if it's at night. I don't care. Ohio State, they're getting my money. I'm not doing it no more.
I have to somewhat disagree. I think it's more so James Franklin than anything.
I agree. And like I said, that very well could be the case. But until that changes and until they prove me differently, I'm not doing it. I'm not falling for it again. I can't do it.
Yeah, I know coming into that game, like Drew Aller was questionable or he wasn't 100%. He looked fine to me. Like I can't say Drew Aller was hurt. He was clearly hurt, so therefore he didn't play well and they lost. It looked like a pretty typical Drew Aller performance against like a top tier team. So again, no excuse there for them. As far as Penn State in general against top tier teams, I still have question marks, right? Like they struggled last year against Michigan. They always do this, whether it's Ohio State, Michigan, any of the elite teams in the Big Ten. Historically, under James Franklin, they've struggled. So when they get to the playoff, they'll probably end up hosting a game. I think that's a team that's probably on fraud watch, personally. If they get matched up with a team like a team that has real firepower, for example, Indiana. I know they're Big Ten, conference. They're in the same conference, but they could match up in the first round. Yeah. They don't play this year in the regular season, so they match up against the wrong team. they're on fade business. And I think a lot of teams looking to get into the playoff wouldn't mind playing against Penn State in round 1.
Yeah. No, I just can't do it no more, man. I just can't do it. It's like Nebraska for me. Like, aside from the Colorado game this year, Nebraska for the past couple of years has been on auto fade. Week 0, week 1, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that in this game in particular, that's how I feel personally about betting on Pitt State. A&M goes to South Carolina. Got that ass whooped, boys. I mean, got that ass whooped. First A&M loss, at least conference loss, I should say. And they are not in the top 12, which we'll get into the college football bracket here in a minute, but not in the conversation. I think they're the first team out or something, second team out.
Yeah, SMU was first team out.
Yeah. So not in the conversation. As of this current moment in time, Texas still on deck, the last game of the year, but South Carolina whooped that ass. I mean, the entire game. They really they dominated that game. They really did. And it kind of went back to what you were talking about, the Marcel Reed, Connor Weigman situation. They just couldn't get it going on offense. They really couldn't.
People will always come at you when you lose, and whatever. That's the way the business works in the gambling world, sports gambling world. So if I'm right, I'm gonna parade myself. I call that shit. We all did. We said South Carolina should be favored in that game. There's the only reason why they're not is because A&M has a number next to the name. You look at the talent, the way the game was going to play out. You break it down from that kind of perspective. We said South Carolina should win this game, and they did. Again, A&M. It depends. Like, the quarterbacks they have are both okay. It just depends on who they're playing that week, which is why I said I'm not advocating for a 2-quarterback system, but it usually doesn't work. But in this particular scenario, it might be the better option for them because you can't, like, Marcel Reed was not. You need to be able to throw the ball against South Carolina, get it out quick. That's Weigman's game. That's not Marcel Reed's game. So we said coming into that, if as long as it's Marcel Reed, it should be South Carolina, and it really shouldn't be that close. And that's kind of how it broke down. I want to give a shout out to Beamer, though. I mean, he's had so many chances to get a big win at South Carolina, especially in Columbia at home. And he finally was able to get one. Might have saved his job, guys. So if Beamer comes back next year, I think we can pinpoint this game as the reason why he's coming back. Also, Dylan Stewart, best player in the country nobody knows about. Defensive lineman at South Carolina. I think he's a true freshman too, right, T?
Yeah, he is.
5-star kid, amazing talent. I saw a rumor that he was going to command like $2 million in the offseason from NIL. I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is, it's money well spent because he's that good.
I'd be surprised if they keep him.
I think he's a South Carolina kid, which is why he originally went there. So if he stays there, it's because he's from the area.
Yeah. But their front seven in general is
really
good.
Their defense in general is really good.
Really, really good. And that place was hopping.
Yeah.
I mean, it was.
I think he did save his job with that game.
Yeah,
it's one of the more underrated home field advantages. Like when we, obviously when we break games down and put stuff into our model like that Columbia is a legitimate home field advantage, guys, going forward.
Oh yeah.
For any team having to go there, like that's a really raucous environment to go play at, especially at night.
Yeah, at night it was absolutely bumping in that place. Louisville takes down Clemson 33-21. As of which we're going to talk about the college football bracket here in just a second, but Clemson was nowhere to be found on that list. So that may be it for Clemson. Yeah,
I think it is.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, they're done. I think you get what they got Miami in there, and that's the only the only ACC team. SMU was the first one out. I think that kind of shows you it's going to be one ACC team that gets in. Yeah. And right now it's going to be. I don't think Clemson can make it to the championship game now, the ACC championship game.
Yeah.
So it's probably going to be Miami or SMU, and then or Pittsburgh, right? Pittsburgh is still.
We just lost SMU.
They did lose. Yeah. Okay.
I think this is more. Oh, go ahead, John.
No, I was just going to say. It's Miami all the way here.
I think if you're SMU, this is kind of one of those scenarios we talked about earlier in the year. If you're SMU, I think you wanted Clemson to keep winning in a way, because now SMU has to play Miami in the ACC championship game.
Yeah,
you have to, and if you lose that game, you're out. You're not making it, right? If it was Clemson Miami in the ACC championship game and SMU finished the season 11-1, they would have gotten in. You get what I'm saying? Like, in a weird way, SMU was probably like, "Damn, now we got to play the ACC. Now we got to play Miami to win the ACC, right? Or if we didn't play at all, if we just finished
Yeah.
season 11-1 and came in third place, we would have gotten in anyways. So now they're like, damn, now we actually play against, you know, one of the best teams in the country just to get in. Where if we didn't play at all, we'd have a spot. So one of those weird scenarios. Obviously, you want to win every game on your schedule. That's the point of the game. But again, I'm sure they looked at themselves in the mirror and said, fuck, like Clemson losing kind of hurt us, guys.
And you know, Miami's been playing really good ball. Cam Ward's been playing really good, but I do think SMU could match up well in the ACC title game if that's who ends up playing.
They beat the shit out of Pitt.
They did bad.
SMU's really put it together now. They got
Red
finally
Lashley
got
also. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
They finally got you know, that beginning of the year before the year we were like, I was all over SMU. And then they kind of got into that 2 quarterback thing and they struggled and it was like, oh man, what is this? But looking at it now, what's funny is they lost to BYU, but we didn't know that was 2 of the better teams in the country, SMU and BYU. Look, BYU's undefeated. So, but yeah, I think SMU has a real shot. They'll match up well against Miami.
Yeah.
My biggest takeaway with SMU. Sorry, Tyler.
No, go ahead.
My biggest takeaway with SMU is that Brett Lashley is the real deal at head coach. Look at the roster they have, and it's not the best roster. The quarterbacks they have, I think we're both high on Preston Stone and Kevin Jennings. We're all high on them, and they haven't looked all that good. This is a master class of a coaching job by Brett Lashley, right? To rally the troops, to get everything straightened away, and to be where they are at right now in the season. He's going to be a hot commodity in the offseason, guys. A lot of teams are going to want to go after him. I know we were talking about on a pre-podcast Sam Pittman potentially retiring or stepping away. Tyler, how would you feel getting another SMU coach to coach Arkansas? I know.
It's not Chad Morris
coming in. I know it's not Chad Morris. I know there's some bad history there with regarding hiring SMU coaches, but Brett Lashley has done a fantastic job at SMU this season, guys. I'm really impressed with him.
Yeah, that's one thing I was going to say is there's going to be a lot of people calling his phone. Yeah. Once this season is over.
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I don't know. SMU's given so much money to the football program to go get.
They have the money.
Yeah, to get whoever he wants. Like, you know, in the NIL in the offseason, they're going to be able to go after any of them. You know what I mean? And if they keep playing like this and they show they're a real ACC contender, then, you know, maybe he stays and maybe they put together an even better roster next year.
Yeah, because what was their the money they raised this year with like 160 million or something like that.
Yeah, they're not getting no ACC money. They're paying the ACC to play right now.
Right. Yeah,
I mean
they're pretty much like unlimited on their NIL.
Yeah, that university is flooded with football money right now.
Yeah, and it's a small school, but that people I don't think they may now, but I don't know that a lot of people realize that school is loaded.
Oh yeah,
like loaded. Whoop that ass at home against Pitt, 48-25. I think Pitt kind of dressed it up a little bit at the end too, because I think at one point it was pretty ugly there at one point in that game. Indiana handles business. Michigan State. I'm pretty sure it was they were down in the first half, not by a lot, but I'm pretty sure that was the first time they had even been trailing at any point in any game this season. But still handles their business, comes out with a pretty big dub. Kansas State going to Houston, and Houston pulling out the upset 24-19.
Yeah.
We talked about, I remember talking about earlier in the year, Willie Fritz is going to get somebody at some point in time. And he did it. This is it. This is the game. So I think Kansas State is done. They're out of the conversation altogether. Texas Tech getting a crazy win.
Colorado is smiling.
Colorado is jacked.
They have a legitimate chance at winning the Big 12, which I mean, I know we said the Big 12 was going to be, a ridiculous conference this year. Nobody knew who was going to win it all. But, I mean, just given the way Colorado's roster plays out, looked on paper preseason, they've stayed relatively healthy this season, guys. The defense has played a lot better than what we anticipated. Yep. So they got a real shot at contending. And I know ESPN, whoever has the rights to the CFP this year, is praying that they find a way to get in because that's going to be cinema. That is going to be ratings galore, if it's Colorado.
Colorado, BYU, and the Big 12 title game, that would be crazy.
That's what it's looking. I mean, after this past weekend, that's kind of what it's looking like,
What would you make that game?
Legit chance to do it.
Yeah.
What would you make that game right now? Neutral field.
Colorado, BYU neutral field.
Yeah. They're all healthy. No key injuries.
I'd make it Colorado -3.
Okay, I was gonna say Colorado 1.5.
Yeah,
but close.
John, your Cyclones, I think they're done, my boy.
Yeah, I didn't.
I think
I honestly didn't watch much of that game, so I'm not sure exactly what happened. But
it was lit.
I know they did lose.
They did. 23-22. It was a great game. Texas Tech gets the dub.
And I did see the end of that game. I did.
Yeah. Texas Tech, they were a lot better than what we were expecting this year. It's kind of hit or miss with them. I feel like they either go out and score 14 or they go out and score 35. Like, I don't feel like there's a whole lot in between. But their defense played really well. I thought defense played really well. They made some plays and come out with the dub. So, as it sits right now, college football bracket was released 2 days ago or yesterday. Yeah, 2 days, one of the two. And this is how it sits right now. Oregon sitting at number 1. Ohio State sitting at number 2. Georgia at number 3, and Miami rounds out the top 4 at 4. Texas is at 5. Penn State at 6. Tennessee at 7. Kind of shocked me, not going to lie to you. Indiana at 8. BYU at 9. Notre Dame at 10. Bama at 11. Also kind of shocked me. And then for the group of 5, Boise at 12. What are your thoughts on that and going forward? Like, I think this weekend for the Bama LSU game, if Bama doesn't win, they're done.
Yeah.
So like this is almost a play-in game for them, essentially for this weekend. So what are your thoughts on that bracket as of right now?
Go ahead, John.
I think it's right. I like it. I like where it stands. Indiana's in there. Tennessee's in there with 1 loss, with a big win against Alabama. I'm a little. I understand it, but Texas is a little high for me. I think they should be in right now, obviously with 1 loss to Georgia, but Texas is a little bit high for me. Notre Dame gets in. They still got Army and USC to play, so that will be big wins for them. Penn State hangs in there. Boise State's in there at 12. I love that. Boise State's going to be in. I don't see any chance they're not. And then, Oregon is my team that I picked this year to win it all. They're sitting at that 1 seed, so that's looking good. They'll definitely be in. I just hope they get the bye. They don't have a mishaps. And they're probably honestly not wanting to bye. They would rather not play in the conference title game. You know what I mean? We've kind of all talked about that. It's like, but I don't know. I don't really know what to think about that yet. But I think the best teams are in right now. And I that kind of shows us it looks like it's going to be 1 ACC team, 1 Big 12 team, and then the rest is SEC and Big 10. So outside of Notre Dame being independent and Boise State being your group of 5. I think they got it right, personally. I like the bracket.
Which is kind of how we predicted it was going to be at the beginning, of the year too. Minus I think the only difference was I think we may have had 1 less Big Ten team going in because obviously nobody expected Indiana to be the way they are.
They did.
Well, I mean, we all expected they were going to be good, but undefeated, beating the shit out of everybody in the college football playoff. I don't know. I mean, if you did, good for you, because I sure shit didn't. But yeah, I think other than that, I think we may have had 2 ACC teams kind of in our prediction. So we were just kind of 1 team off there, but.
On the topic of Indiana, one of my bigger takeaways was the fact that Indiana was ranked ahead of BYU, right? And BYU has probably the better body of work compared to Indiana.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you? That tells me that the committee is still valuing the eye test. Like, BYU has the better wins on paper, but Indiana has looked a lot better offensively, defensively against inferior competition. So when push comes to shove at the end of the year, guys, I think it's important to remember this ranking because the committee, just like last year, will take eye test over body of work, right? We saw with Alabama against Florida State. Florida State looked like shit last year. Obviously, they were injured. I'm not discrediting that. They had a great season. But Alabama at the time was the better team, even though they had, the worst record. And the committee made the right decision on putting them in. That set a precedent for this year. They're already falling back on that precedent. Putting Indiana ahead of BYU, to me, signifies that they are looking at how are teams beating the teams lining up against them. It's not really who you beat. It does matter, but how are you beating them? Indiana's beating the shit out of every team they played, and they're getting rewarded.
Yeah.
So that was a big takeaway for myself. Also want to point out that Iowa State was the highest Big 12 team that didn't make the top 12. They were at 17. There will be no other Big 12 team getting in for sure unless you win your conference. So if you're Colorado, you're Iowa State, you're Kansas State, anybody competing for the Big 12, just know there is no path for you unless you win your conference. That's it. So again, just some things that I took away from this original unveiling. Obviously, a subject to change. Massive changes coming in the next few weeks. But as of right now, that's what I'm taking away. That's what the committee is telling me. That eye test matters. It's how are you beating these teams lining up against you? And the Big 12 only has one pathway, and that's to win your conference. That's about it.
And the other thing too here is Boise can work its way up even more. Like if they keep winning and they win the Mountain West title game, they might not be at that 12th seed. They could be higher, and you can be higher. They don't have to be the 12th seed. They just have to be in, because they would be the highest ranked conference champion. So they don't have to be at 12. So you could end up seeing Boise get to that 10 spot maybe, or 9 even.
Yeah, I mean, BYU is the lowest ranked conference champion right now, right? They're at 9.
Yeah.
Right, and again, they based on who they played and their record, they shouldn't be at 9. So the committee is saying, you know what, like we understand, and from a betting from a gambling market, right? The sports books are lower on BYU, right? They know that BYU. I'm not saying it's gotten lucky, but they haven't looked overwhelmingly amazing in all of their games. You know what I mean? So the committee recognizes that, and they have 3 spots ahead of Boise State. I think they're saying, you know what, if Boise State finishes strong and they start playing, beating the shit out of their opponents, there is a real chance that they can drum somebody and snatch that last bye spot.
I really like this bracket, and I would like it. Honestly, I would like it even more if you. And I know the public wants Colorado in here, but if you saw Colorado at that 4 seed right there, I mean, I like this bracket even more. I would love to see all these teams in the playoff.
I think it's great. I love it.
Yeah, me as well. So let's go and cover some games for this weekend. We've got some big games, so let's go ahead and get into them. Georgia goes to Ole Miss. It's a big game for Ole Miss. Can they finally get a big dub and kind of break that thing of they win a lot of their games, but they can't ever win the big one. Well, here's the big one. Georgia's coming into town. I don't know what the line opened at, because it said 6.5, but I think that was summer because it's at 2.5 now. But over under, or actually, I think it was at a flat 3 when I looked at it just a few minutes ago. The over under is at 55. Money line for Ole Miss is at plus 115. I have not looked at the public percentage as far as who's betting what yet. I'll get that pulled up. But as of right now, Ole Miss is getting a flat 3 as home dogs. So are either one of y'all going to play this game? And it looks like 84% of the bets are coming in on Georgia as of right now.
John, this is your squad. You can go ahead.
I'm not playing this game. No. The mistakes, the interceptions, the fumbles, it scares me a little bit here. I do lean Georgia because of their defense. But I think it will be close. Ole Miss is going to push the pace. They're going to try to score quick and keep it going, and then force Carson Beck to make mistakes like he has been. It's a huge eyesore now. Everyone's seen it the last few weeks, 2 and 3 interceptions a week, and it's going to cost you games if you keep doing it, especially against these better teams. Your defense can't keep bailing you out. The biggest thing here for me is Georgia needs to stop the pass game. I think they'll do that. We saw what they did against Texas. Defense showed up and showed out. So I think that they can do that again this week in the pass game. They're gonna force Ole Miss to try to run the ball and slow the game down. And Beck's just got to be better. I mean, he just has to be better. He cannot make as many mistakes. They have to get ETN going in the run game. They have a good offensive line. They don't have a whole lot to throw to, but they're very capable receivers. So yeah, I'm not playing this game. I do think Georgia will come out with the win, not just because they're my team. I think their defense will once again bail them out and carry them. But yeah, I lean Georgia, but no, I will not play this game. The mistakes from Beck really worry me.
Yeah. Jose, you play anything?
I am. I'll be on Ole Miss.
Yeah.
I just can't get behind Carson Beck right now, guys.
Yeah.
He looks
he
looks completely different than Carson Beck we saw last year. And to be fair, he lost Ladd McConkey, lost Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers might be the best tight end in the NFL right now. That's how good he's playing. 2 massive losses. And I think we talked about it last week, but, just further solidify the fact that Carson Beck looked as good as he did last year because of the talent around him. He didn't make Ladd McConkey. He did not make Brock Bowers. They made him, or at least they had a part of helping hand in making him. The big matchup for me this week is Carson Beck against that Ole Miss defensive line. Carson Beck under pressure this year has played very poorly. Not smart with the ball, throwing a lot of interceptions. Look at this Ole Miss defensive line, right, led by Walter Nolan. They are top 5 in the country in pressure rate, right? Defensive line pressure rate. They are getting home to the quarterback, and they're doing it just with their front 4. They can blitz if they want to, but they don't need to. But the fact of the matter is they're going to be getting home to Carson Beck, and we've seen he's susceptible to making mistakes when he's under pressure. So that's a big concern for me. John talked about the receivers. Who's he going to throw to? No one's consistently getting open. They have a lot of players who fit their roles, but no one can step up and be the alpha, which I think Georgia's severely lacking right now, right? They need someone to step up and get open on every play. Right now, it's kind of more of like scheming players open on the offensive side of the ball, and they're expecting Carson Beck to be good enough to throw their receivers open. The receivers aren't good enough to get open on their own, and Beck's not playing well enough right now to throw those receivers open. So I'm concerned there. Now, Ole Miss, Jackson Dart had himself their offense had an amazing game last week against Arkansas. Tyler's Homicide Hogs. Unfortunately, they're not playing Arkansas this week. They're playing against Georgia. So whatever you saw last week, flush it down the toilet. Also want to point out, people are probably going to remember the game last year, Ole Miss against Georgia, when Georgia beat the shit out of them, right? You got to remember, too, this is a completely new Ole Miss team. The transfer portal, a lot of these players didn't play last year. So I don't want to fall back on that game too much. I know it's important. They did play, and Georgia handled business, but this is a different Ole Miss team. But yeah, Jackson Dart, can he put the game on his shoulders? Because Ole Miss has not been able to run the ball at all this year, guys. They've been very, very poor trying to run the ball or establish the run. It's all been Jackson Dart. He can only do so much. The receivers are very good. The tight end is very good. Skill position players, not concerned at all. Jackson Dart, though, is susceptible to making mistakes as well, right? And Ole Miss's offensive line hasn't played as good as maybe we thought they would. And this Georgia defensive line, Georgia defense in general, is elite. So a lot of question marks on both sides. But for me, I just don't feel comfortable at all right now backing Carson Beck. I just saw him play against Florida, a Florida team that was hurting, a lot of injuries, especially in the secondary, and they looked rather good, like decent against Georgia last week. In fact, if G.J. LaGuay stays healthy, I think we talked about it, they might have won that game. That's how bad Carson Beck was playing. He's played himself out of the first round. At this rate, he's played himself out of the first 4 rounds. I don't see how you could take a flyer on Carson Beck just the way he's going right now. I'm not going to sit here and say traveling to Oxford, playing against Ole Miss on the road is going to magically fix those problems in a week. I don't think so. There's going to be a raucous environment. Ole Miss needs this win. Like, they came into the season with legitimate national championship aspirations. So far, hasn't gone that way. This is their chance to get back on schedule. This is their chance to show the country really that they are one of the better teams in the nation. And this is Lane Kiffin's chance to audition for a new job. His name's always in the carousel ring. If he wants to get out of there, this is a massive opportunity for him to show other athletic directors that he has what it takes to knock off some of these elite programs. So I'll take Ole Miss getting 3. I'm not sure if they win, but I'll take the field goal at home. I just don't want to back Carson Beck. I'm not going to be fooled by the mirage that I saw last week at Jackson Dart either. He's not going to come out here and light the world on fire, but I think Ole Miss has just enough on the defensive side of the ball to make a difference, especially with that front 4 or that front 7, if you will, if you want to send some pressure. Because Carson Beck right now is just not playing at a high level, especially under duress. And Ole Miss's defense has what it takes, the talent alone, to cause him a lot of trouble. So on the road too, just not a good formula for me. I'll back Ole Miss getting 3. And I'll be betting this one.
Colorado goes to Texas Tech this weekend. Massive for Colorado. Massive, massive, massive game. This line opened up as Texas Tech as 3-point home dogs. It was 3.5 yesterday when I was making my notes. I just looked. It is now at 4.5. The over-under set at 63, and the money line for this is sitting at plus 145. I know Texas Tech kind of got, they got a big dub last week on the road. Now they're back at home. Is this kind of a letdown spot from their big win a week ago, or do they have a legit chance to take down Colorado and kind of end their chances for the college football playoff this weekend?
It's kind of a fishy line, isn't it? Like, Texas Tech isn't bad. They've played pretty well. They've knocked off some pretty decent teams, and yet they're 4.5-point dogs at
Yeah.
home. Does that kind of throw anybody else off, or is it just me? Because I feel like it's a little disrespectful to Texas Tech.
Yeah.
What does that tell me? That tells me the books are respecting what Colorado has played like this season, right? I think earlier, if this game would have taken place, earlier in the season, I think the books would have made Colorado a bigger favorite. Texas Tech is getting rewarded for their wins against Iowa State. They're getting rewarded for that. What was that? Was it Baylor they knocked off? I don't remember. But they knocked somebody else off before Iowa State. Also took TCU to the wire, a game they probably should have won.
Absolutely should have won.
Yeah, they should have won that one. So despite all of that, they're still being disrespected by the books. Maybe they're just higher on the talent that Colorado has. I mean, it's later on in the season now, and Colorado hasn't had any significant injuries. I think we all figured by now somebody would have gone down. Travis Hunter would have gone down for extended period of time. We thought Shedeur might have gone down because the offensive line was in shambles. He might have got hurt. They've stayed pretty healthy. They've proven a lot of us wrong. I see no reason to doubt them now. I know Texas Tech, again, coming off some big wins. They've looked a lot better. We were actually high on Texas Tech coming into the season, right, Tyler? Like we had said, this is a team that maybe has, if you want to bet a long shot in the Big 12, this team has the potential to do it. I still think they have the potential on any given night. But you talked about it, Jekyll and Hyde. Like 1 week they look good, 1 week they look bad. Last week they looked great against Iowa State. Went into Ames and knocking them off. Maybe they're due for a regression week this week. The only reason I would be hesitant to bet Colorado here, because I think they're the more talented team. They have obviously the better offense. The only reason why I'd be a little hesitant to bet them is because their run defense hasn't been all that good, and Taj Brooks has been one of the best running backs in the country. 100 rushing yards every single game this season. They've utilized him really well. If he gets going in this one, it could make it much more competitive. But I don't know. Like, it just seems like a fishy line, a really disrespectful line to me. I figure this game would have been closer to like a pick maybe. So the fact you're getting 4.5 at home, it was 3.5. It was 3.5 yesterday, Tyler, 3, and now it's up to 4.5
yesterday. Yeah.
So there must be some respected money coming in on Colorado here, and I'm going to follow the money, guys. I'm going to back Colorado getting 4.5. I'm giving 4.5. I'm not betting it. But if you believe in conspiracies, I don't. But if you believe, networks have anything to do with the outcomes of the games, trust me, ESPN and the NCAA would much rather Colorado win this game than Texas Tech. Put it that way. So any fishy business, any home cooking you think you're going to get with Texas Tech is going to be nullified because they want Colorado to win these games.
93% of the bets are on Colorado for this game as of right now.
I mean, you're going to get that with Colorado, though, right? They're a public team. That's Colorado's one of the few teams where you kind of look the other way with that one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
John, you take anything in this game?
I am betting Colorado. Yeah. I'm taking Colorado. And that was kind of what I was going to say is I know that everyone and their brothers on Colorado, but that's kind of what you get with Colorado every single week at this point. Everyone loves watching them. They got a lot of hype. Everyone bets them. But I am betting them again. I bet on them a couple weeks ago. Then they run a bye last week, I believe. So they got some rest.
Bye, yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Got some rest. Get to prepare for Tech. Tech just come off that huge win off Iowa State, and I like Colorado here. They've showed me a lot. I've watched their last few games. They're staying healthy. Travis Hunter is just an elite talent. They're just stacked at receiver. Jimmy Horn, LeJohntay Wester, I believe is his name. They're all just so good.
Yeah. Great player. Will Shepherd.
So, and the other thing too is Shedeur actually has had some time this year to actually find the receivers, and he's a really good quarterback. He's a first-round quarterback. So on the defensive side of the ball, I do worry about Colorado's defense a little bit, but not enough to not back them here against Tech. I think that they're going to be just fine. They could step up, make whatever plays they need to make. I think that they have enough corners. I think that their talent at corner with Travis Hunter out there, and the only one that really worries me is Shiloh, but he's out now, right? He broke his collarbone or something.
I think he's out for the season. I believe. I might be totally
that actually helps Colorado because he's a dumbass and he makes penalties. He makes stupid personal fouls every single game that gives up first down. So that actually helps Colorado that he's out now. But anyways, I think that they're going to kind of be able to key into Taj Brooks in the run because their corners could be left on an island out there. So yeah, I like Colorado here. I think they're going to score a lot of points, and Tech's going to have to try to keep up, and they're not going to be able to. So Colorado -4 was the line I got. I got it at -4.
I'll probably end up joining you, John. I agree with that, and I know it's kind of a lazy handicap, but it's true because we talked about it all season, right? Like at the end of the day, Colorado, when they're matched up against teams who are similar skill sets to them or similar on talent, are similar like in terms of like a similar line, just back Colorado because they have Travis Hunter and they have Shedeur Sanders and other teams don't. You know, we talked about that all season, and so far it's been pretty true. You know what I mean? They've handled business in a lot of games. I know it's kind of lazy, but it's the truth. Like when it's in competitive
the Big
games,
12 as a whole. The Big 12 as a whole is just so open. And, you know, I know that we've all watched a lot of these teams play this year, but to me, and you can tell me what you think, Jose, but to me, Colorado is one of the best teams in the Big 12, in my opinion. They look like one of the best teams in the Big 12. You know, with the downfall of Utah, that was kind of the clear favorite, right? With the downfall of Utah, I just don't see it, and Oklahoma State as well. I just don't see it an elite team. Like BYU is not elite. Iowa State, they've been good, right? And I know I backed them all year, but they've been really good, and but they haven't really like taken that step to be elite. They've been barely winning some games. So I think Colorado is one of the best, if not the best team in the Big 12.
I agree. Yep. I would say they're up there from a talent perspective, absolutely. But every team I see in the Big 12 that's competitive has flaws. Like not one team is perfect, and if every team has flaws, why not back the team that has the most talent? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I know as a kid you're always taught like, oh, like hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, right? I think we've all heard that before, and that's true when you're like 8 years old, you know. But once you grow up, like once you get bigger, if you're more talented than the next guy, you're just always going to beat him. That's the way it is. You know, some guys are just born with more talent. There's nothing you can do about it. You know what I mean? I can go outside and throw 100 pitches every single day. I'm not going to be the next Clayton Kershaw. Doesn't matter how hard I work. Either you're born with it or you're not. Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, the entire Colorado receiving room, like they're born with it. They just have that talent that other players don't.
Yeah, for sure.
Bama goes to LSU this weekend. Don't know what it opened at as of this past weekend, but LSU is getting 3 at home. Over under is at 58.5. Money line is sitting at plus 128. This is desperation for Alabama. Can't lose another one for them going forward. Lose another one, and they are officially out of the playoff. Last time I took LSU at home was against Ole Miss, and they covered for me. And I haven't completely made my decision yet. But I think I'm still kind of leaning that way of taking LSU at home. Jose, are you playing anything this weekend for this game? And if so, what are you playing?
I don't know yet, guys. I was breaking this game down earlier today, actually, and I was struggling to find a pick. As of right now, I lean LSU just on a few different based on like a few different concepts, I guess. And the first one being that LSU's receivers are good enough to beat this Alabama secondary. And I can say that confidently because Alabama's defensive line has not generated too much pressure this year. They've been fine, but it hasn't been like the elite Alabama defensive line that we expect. And in games where Alabama's defensive line hasn't been able to create enough pressure, they've been carved up in the secondary, right? They're going against LSU's offensive line, which is probably one of the best in the country, right? They have 2 tackles on each side of the line. They're going to be first-round picks in the NFL draft, right? They have a quarterback back there who has a rocket for an arm. I'm not saying he's great, but he has a rocket for an arm in Nussmeier. And the receivers have played very, very well this year, especially Kyron Lacy. They kind of had to because they really haven't had that much of a run game going for them this season. So I think LSU's offense matches up well with Alabama's defense, and the receivers should be able to find pay dirt often in this game. It's just hard to go against Kalen DeBoer, though. You know, and you're only laying 3 points. I know it's on the road in Death Valley, which is obviously one of the hardest places to play at. But it's still Kalen DeBoer, guys, and we've seen time and time again in situations where you kind of want to, where you maybe hesitant to back him. He always comes through. You know, Milroe, I'm assuming got healthier in this bye week, right? Both teams coming off a bye week, I believe, right, Tyler? I believe Milroe should be healthier in this game. He needs to utilize his legs here. He has to if Alabama wants a real chance of winning. Will he? I don't know. We need to see exactly what the level of health he's playing at. I just do want to point out, and again, I lean LSU, but I'm making cases for both teams because I really don't have a strong play here. But if you're Alabama, you look at your remaining schedule. I want to say it's Oklahoma, Auburn, and Mercer. Like I don't even think you need Jalen Milroe to win those games.
Mercer.
So if you're killing, yeah, like if you're killing a board, you need this win. Like you have to have it. Why not just run Jalen Milroe like nonstop in this game? Utilize his legs. even if he gets hurt for a few weeks, you don't need him, right? You're going to have like a month or so off after this, right? Like Alabama's probably not going to make the SEC championship game. They don't need to get in the playoff, right? They have 3 games after this that they can win without Milroe. Plus, they're going to have another 3 weeks off or so, whatever, when the season ends to get ready for the CFP. So this is it. If you're killing the board, run Milroe. If he gets hurt, he gets hurt. He'll have time to recover after. If you're LSU, trust your offensive line. Let your receivers work and get open. Let Garrett Nussmeier cook. I don't see a clear path for any team here. Again, I'll lean LSU because they're at home and they're getting 3, but it does scare me betting against Kalen DeBoer. Maybe you guys have a better insight than I do on this game. But I'm genuinely like 51-49 in favor of LSU in terms of like percentage of betting. So very, very slightly into LSU guys, but this should be a damn good game. It's a must win for both teams, right? But it should be a damn good game.
John, I'll let you go ahead and go first before I give my opinion.
First and foremost, I'm going to say whatever Mercer is for that game, I'm going to take Mercer. Mercer's legit this year, and they're going to be in the FCS playoffs. So they actually have a really good defense. But anyways, off of Mercer, I don't know. I don't know on this game either. It's kind of a toss up for me. I lean LSU just because they're at home. It's going to be a tough environment. The biggest question mark for me is Jalen. It actually is Jalen Milroe. After seeing what happened with him at that Tennessee game, I was kind of like, I don't know. I was just like, man, this kid's awful. He has no accuracy at all. So I don't know. LSU can score points, and their defense is okay, in my opinion. I really I don't know here. I have no clue. I lean LSU at home. But like I said, you can't really count out, or like Jose said, you can't count out Kalen DeBoer. So it's really just a toss-up for me. It's a coin flip.
It is. And
but both teams are playing to get in, yeah.
Yeah, they are both playing to get in. I like LSU at home as of right now. I think I like LSU at home. I kind of view this a lot like the Tennessee-Bama game. I think if Tennessee converts a lot of their, they had some big shots that they took down the field. Nico just missed. And if LSU can present those same opportunities, I don't think Nussmeier misses. I really don't. Now, I think Tennessee's better at running the ball. So that may, come into play in this game. But you give Nussmeier and the LSU offense those chances, I really do think they'll take advantage of that. And I do think that they can win this game. Or worst case scenario, cover. And Death Valley is one of the toughest places to play in the country, no matter night or day. It's not easy just to go in there and get a dub. So
I think we should keep riding like this primetime home dog trend this year, because it seems like every time a team is a home dog in a primetime spot or in a big time spot, they just always win, or at least they cover. You know what I mean? Yeah. Bama against Georgia, Tennessee against Alabama, LSU against Ole Miss, Oregon against Ohio State. Like if you're a home dog and it's a massive game for you, you're probably gonna end up winning. At least that's what this year has shown us. So just keep riding with it, I guess.
Yep, so I'm going to keep riding with that. Clemson goes to Virginia Tech. Line opened up at Virginia Tech is 4.5-point dogs, and they're now 6.5-point dogs. The over-under is 52.5. Money line is at 2-1 for Virginia Tech. Any of y'all playing anything on this game?
Is Jones playing?
That I don't know. I have not seen anything as of right now where he's necessarily ruled out and or ruled he's 100% playing.
Who?
Yeah, last I saw was questionable. Kyron Jones.
Oh.
Last I saw, I want to say it was questionable. I don't have a play in this game, guys, because I don't know exactly what his health level is going to be at. That was a beatdown from Clemson last week, right? That was a mirage. Like Clemson this entire season, we thought bounced back from Georgia. They didn't play anybody, and then when they finally play against a competent opponent, they get smacked. So I can't back them. We talked about their flaws this entire offseason. It's kind of a team that flew under the radar. They climbed pretty high in the rankings in the AP. Again, under the radar, they didn't play anybody. Play somebody good, get smoked. Virginia Tech has played better as of late. They've looked like the team that we kind of expect them to be. But again, I need to see exactly Drones, if he's going to play or not, and whether or not or at what level he's going to play at in order for me to actually back this team here. I think it's a good spot for Virginia Tech. I think they have more to play for here. I think Clemson might have already quit on the season because they're not getting in. So I'm not exactly what they're playing, sure what they're playing for here. But I'm going to pass on this one. I don't really have a strong lean either way. But if I had to go one way, I guess I would take the Hokies at home. But yeah, nothing concrete for me.
Kyron Jones has practiced all week and is playing.
That's
per on 3.
I'm reading the Fox Sports on their Virginia Tech page as of right now, and it says he's likely in the questionable to probable range. So
yeah,
do what you want.
He's been practicing in full and is supposed to play. Yeah, but I'll be on Virginia Tech money line this game at home. I think Clemson has given up on the year. And I think Virginia Tech's played a lot of close games. All the games they've lost have been by 7 or less. Even the Miami game. So I think Virginia Tech, they have the experience, the defense, and if Drones can make some plays with his legs, I think they will beat Clemson this week. I think Clemson's done. I think they've given up. I like Virginia Tech at home. So Tech money line for me. I know it's plus 6.5, but I like Tech.
83% of the money on Clemson right now.
Yeah.
On this game. I just saw Desiree there in the chat. Sorry, I did not see your message. I don't know how long ago he sent it. But if Indiana loses to Ohio State, what % chance do you give them getting into the CFP? I think they absolutely get in. And to be honest with you, I think if I'm Indiana, I want to lose that game because at that point in time, I think it'll be an Oregon-Ohio State rematch in the Big Ten championship, and you're in regardless. Honestly, I think that's depending on how they play against Ohio State. If they get their ass whooped, maybe a different story. But if it's a competitive game, I think that's honestly best case scenario for Indiana. What do you think?
If Indiana has one loss, they'll get in. The way that they've been beating teams, the eye test as a whole, this team will be in even with one loss to Ohio State. And especially if they play Ohio State close in that game.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think that's the best case scenario for them.
They'll for sure be in. Yeah.
I disagree it being best case scenario, Tyler, because if they beat Ohio State and get into the Big Ten championship game, it doesn't matter what happens in that game. They're in.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think if they beat, they would rather beat Ohio State and be 12-0 at the end of the season. They would get in. Yeah. It doesn't matter what the score is against Oregon.
Yeah.
But if they lose against Ohio State, it's not the end of the world for them because then they would avoid Oregon in the Big Ten championship, and then obviously they'd only have one loss. Percentage-wise, I would say at this current moment, if Indiana finishes 11-1, their schedule is not the best, but just based on where the committee put them in the rankings so high, I would say
I was
80% chance.
I was at 90. Yeah.
Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think they get in regardless. I think obviously it's a lot less pressure, if they do beat Ohio State, because like you said, regardless of what happens in the Big Ten championship game, they get in.
That was a great question.
Yeah, that is a good question. But regardless, either way, I think they get in either way. I think even if they lose, especially if they play them close, it's a tough competitive game. I don't think they're going to leave them out. I really don't. So as long as they handle their other business, I think they're fine. Now, obviously, you'd want to win. But if they don't, I still think they're okay.
I agree.
All right, Army goes to North Texas. Can Army continue the streak? And is Bryson Daly playing this weekend or no? Is he still out?
I want to say he was in, but I could be wrong. I looked it up earlier. I thought I saw someone said he was in.
Yeah, I didn't know if I hadn't seen anything as if he was like 100%. It was official, he's playing, or if it was like a still questionable. We'll find out tomorrow night type thing. But line open to 3.5. And it's now sitting at 5.5 over under 63.5 money line is at plus 180. My boy Big John will let you go. I think you've got to play. I think you are going against the Service Academy. So if so, what you going to do in this game, Big Dog?
Yeah, I do like North Texas here. They are my dog parlay of the week, but the plus 5 is a little bit safer here. I think it's actually down to plus 4 the last I saw it. But for good reason. North Texas is good. They can keep up here. They can score some points. Army as a whole hasn't really played anyone either, in my opinion. They have kind of coasted by. I know their defense is good, but I just haven't been impressed with their offense either as a whole. I was more impressed with Navy. kind of saw what happened in Navy. Though they've given up on the year. They lost last week too. After their beat down to Notre Dame, they just kind of gave up. And but yeah, I do like North Texas here at home as well. And I do think the crowd will show up for this game because Army is ranked, and I think this is it. I think Army gets knocked out of the playoff conversation. So Boise coasts it and gets in themselves. But yeah, I like North Texas at home. They have the offense and the defense to keep up here. I know it's kind of wild. We're talking about Army versus North Texas, but that's just where we're at right now.
Jose, you playing this game?
Not, but I trust John here.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to point out, like, if there's one school in the country you're not going to get any information from in regards to injury reports, it's probably going to be Army.
Yeah.
They're as tight-lipped
I'm
sure they're going to be tight-lipped as possible. You know what I mean? That's part of their code. So don't expect any rumors floating around earlier that he's in or he's out. It's going to come down to game time.
Yeah, we'll find
obviously
out Saturday.
If he's in, massive boost to Army. If he's out, I want to say they named Dwayne Coleman as the backup. And I saw him play a little bit. He's fine, but he's definitely no Bryson Daly. So he needs to play if the Army to really have a good chance.
Here's some numbers for you real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
North Texas offense is 6th in the nation scoring offense, for averaging 40 points a game, 2nd in the country yards per game and touchdowns. Chandler Morris leads the AAC, I'm sorry, in passing yards and touchdowns, leads the nation with 359 yards a game.
The former Homicide Hog?
Army hasn't faced the offense. I mean, yeah, Army hasn't faced an offense like this all year. I think North Texas is going to run it up on them.
Oh, Chandler Morris, what a guy. Boy. All right, let's get into some college basketball. We got some big games.
Baby.
We got a few big games. I know.
Baby.
Itching to get into some college basketball. So we'll get into a few college basketball games. We'll end it with our dog parlay of the week, and then we'll wrap this thing up. So, John, we'll let you kind of take the reins from here. I know you got a few basketball games to talk about, some big games. So go ahead.
So with basketball, you got to kind of see where the line is going to be. I know there is a line out for that Kansas-UNC game, but I'll kind of go. There's 3 big games this weekend I'm going to cover. We'll keep it at that. Kansas versus UNC, Houston versus Auburn, and Baylor versus Arkansas. We'll start with the Kansas, and Jose, you chime in at any point because you're college basketball as well. Kansas versus UNC, my projected line for that was 5.5. The line's now at 8. It opened at 7. It's at 8. It is an Allen Fieldhouse, Jayhawks home court advantage. It's going to be rocking there. Dickinson should play. I know he's had the exhibition games, but for me personally, I've seen Carolina play an exhibition game this off season a few weeks ago. And I also watched Carolina play Elon the other night. I know a pretty good amount about Carolina. They do bring back RJ Davis, 8th-year senior or whatever. He's going to get one of the front runners for the Wooden Award. And then they have Seth Trimble and also a very good – Elliot Cadeau, also very good players. But my biggest thing here is I do think North Carolina is going to struggle down low. Baycott is gone. Hunter Dickinson is going to absolutely dominate in this game as much as I hate the guy. KJ, he just plays with so much energy, and Dwayne Harris, he can handle his and guard RJ here. I'm not playing this. The line's past my projection. It is way too high, even though it's at Kansas being at home. I would look to play it live if somehow UNC comes out, shoots the ball hot, and gets a little bit of a lead here. But Kansas should win this game at home. I make the line 5.5. You want to add anything to that, Jose?
I don't. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I did extensive college basketball research this season. I know John has, so I definitely follow his advice. What I do want to say is I think the jury is still out on Hubert Davis, whether or not he's a good coach. I'm kind of skeptical on him long term. I don't think he's that good. I know he had that run to the Final Four or the national championship game. And a game they probably could have won against Kansas, right? That's what it was. That's what it was.
Yeah.
But that was the definition of lightning in a bottle. You guys hear all the time when it comes to playoffs, right? You always want to be the team that gets hot right before playoff starts and kind of ride that momentum into the postseason. That was the definition of that phrase. Like when North Carolina got hot that year, They just rode Caleb Love and RJ Davis all the way to the national championship game with Armando Bacot too.
Mhm.
I'm not doubting Hubert Davis. I'm not saying he's a horrible coach, but I think the jury's still out, at least in my book, our book, whether or not he's actually good enough to consistently beat some of these top tier teams. What I do want to say is I am skeptical on Kansas long term also because of what you said, Hunter Dickinson and KJ Adams. I think they lack I know KJ Adams is a high energy guy, not the most skilled. Hunter Dickinson likes to bully ball, right? Utilize his height and weight, but I wouldn't say he's the most skilled either. I think he relies more on the point guard passing it to him and his teammates and stuff like that. So skeptical long term. You match up against a team that has really good interior post defense. I would be hesitant to back Kansas here, but thankfully for them, North Carolina doesn't. Or if they do, it's just not ready yet. I know Bacot's gone; it's a massive loss, big hole to fill. So I would lean Kansas here, but 8 points, I'm not going to lay it. But that's my 2 cents on this one, I guess.
Yeah. All right, next game we'll talk about here real quick is Houston and Auburn, possibly game of the year. This game is going to be really, really good. And I would say we'll have to see how the market reacts here. But after what Auburn did the other night, the beatdown they laid, they won by like 50-some points, and they were like 20-point favorites. I mean, they absolutely laid it on who they were playing the other night. I can't even remember now. But yeah, Houston versus Auburn. I make the line Houston -3 just because that game is at the Toyota Center, which is in Houston. Also, Houston, one thing I value early in the year is returning minutes, experience together as a team. And Houston brings back everyone but Jamal Shed, and they fill his shoes in with Milos Uzun. So Houston's defense, they're the same Houston defense. I mean, the game they played on opening night, they had the team held to like 16 points through halfway through the second half. So this will be an electric game. The line is not out yet. I can't wait to see it, what it is at. But on Auburn, real quick, I want to talk about Auburn. Johnny Broome, he is so good, man. He is going to be tough to guard. Houston's really going to have to key in on him, maybe even double him. And then the kid that come in from Western Carolina, JP Pegues, I believe is how you say his name. He is really, really good. He's a talented guard. He's a key factor for this team. They went and got him in the offseason. So this game as a whole, I really enjoy this game. I'm going to watch this whole thing, but I think experience will prevail. And like I said, it's technically not a home game. It's a neutral site, but it's in Houston. So the Houston crowd's going to show up. So yeah, I like Houston here, depending on what the line is. I do think it will be lower than that 3 just because of what Auburn did the other night. I think it might open maybe -1.5 or something. And if it does, I'll be all over Houston. You got anything, Jose?
Auburn's my team this year. I didn't actually bet a future on them, but I would have if the number was good enough. I think they're the best team in the country. I think Houston was my team last year. So this is a battle of last year versus this year. No play on it. I think this is a game you just want to sit back and enjoy. If I had to lean a certain way, I'd take Auburn in the points. I think they're the real deal. But nothing concrete for me, at least not yet.
And then the last game that we'll run by real quick is the Baylor against Arkansas game. And I want to see, I think Adu did play the other night, so he should be playing in this game. But yeah, Baylor versus Arkansas. You're going to get value on Baylor in this game, in my opinion. I make this game Baylor -3 playing Arkansas. This is a neutral site game being played in Dallas. I really like Baylor here. I know they got routed by Gonzaga the other night, but I'm just going to sit here and tell you Gonzaga is probably the best team in the country, in my opinion. I have hyped them up all offseason. If you've heard me talk about them in any of the podcasts, I have a future on them. This Gonzaga team is deep. They're more defensive than they've ever been. They can put up any lineup they put out there is going to be efficient, and they're going to score points. Number 1 offense in the country every single year for a reason. They're just more defensive this year. They're deeper, and they don't have to rely on one person. We saw Graham Ike get in foul trouble there, and they were still humming. It was just it was a bad matchup for Baylor there, and Langston Love was out that game. So, but now I don't know if Langston Love is going to play against Arkansas. I think he was a game time decision, so I'm assuming Langston Love will play against Arkansas this weekend. I like Baylor here. And you're going to get value on them after what happened to them against Gonzaga. VJ Edgecombe is a superstar in the making. I know that he's projected to go top 5 in the NBA draft, and it's for good reason. He absolutely murdered Mark Few's son at the end of the game, and it was all over the internet. Langston Love, Langston Love, VJ Edgecombe, Jeremy Roach, man. The guards here are going to shine. I think they're going to create problems for Arkansas and their guards. DJ Wagner, he's come back. He's been playing good. And then Boogie Fland, the superstar in the making, number 1 point guard, I believe, coming out of high school. Arkansas gets him, and he's been playing up to his expectations. But now he's going to be guarded by some of the better guards in the country, and Langston Love, Jeremy Roach. I lean Baylor here. I do think they'll get the win. It is a neutral site game. I make the line Baylor -3, and I do think that this might open up as a pick 'em, to be honest. So you're going to have a whole possession of value right there. So, give me Baylor.
2 things. First of all, you're wrong. I've done 0 basketball research, but my Hawks, this is the time.
Hey, but the difference is, so there is one thing to realize here. The difference is in basketball you can lose some games and be okay.
Yeah.
And the thing is Arkansas is still meshing. Arkansas, literally the only returning player is Travion Brazile, so they're still learning each other. John L. Davis, DJ Wagner, Boogie Fland, big dude down low. I can't ever say his name. That transferred from Kentucky. Jonas Adu coming in from Tennessee.
Ante Zizkovic or something.
Yeah. He's a good player. But Arkansas is a good team. They're going to be fine. I think that they really start to put this together at the end of December when they get into conference play, and that's why I took Arkansas to win the SEC. I do think that that Auburn is the favorite for good reason, but I think that Arkansas will start to put it together and make a push. The line was too much for me. Plus 1,000, 10-1 was just too much for me. And even when you get to tournament time, this team is talented enough to make a run. But no, I get it. Yeah, but I just think it's a little too early for Arkansas against a Baylor team that has a lot of experience and really, really good guard play.
Yeah. Y'all want to feel old real quick, completely kind of unrelated? Matt Leinert's son just committed to SMU to play quarterback.
I saw that.
That is absolutely insane. All right, John, you got anything else for college basketball?
No, I'm just going to do a few games every week of the bigger games. That's 3 of the bigger games this weekend coming up. So just keep an eye out for those, because the thing is in college basketball, guys, is you can get value early. You got to take the line early. A lot of these lines, I take them, and they're closing at a lot of them have been closing at what I've been projecting, which is 3 and 4 points almost of difference. Like High Point the other night it was almost a max bet for me, and it was like High Point was -22, and I know that's a big favorite, right? But High Point is one of the best teams in the country. They're one of the better teams in the country, I should say. They're gonna make a run when it comes.
I'll say relax.
Yeah. One of the better mid majors in the country, if not one of the best mid majors, I should say. High Point they're very experienced. They brought back a lot of people, and they're gonna make they got a good defense and a really, really, really talented offense. They're gonna make a run in March, probably to that second weekend or to the Sweet 16 at least. Anyways, High Point opened up at like -22. They closed at -27, which is I projected them at like -26.5. They won by 43.7. Like, you can get value early, but you got to take it early. Sometimes it will go against you, but a lot of times, if you really know what you're doing and you know what you're betting and you have projections like I do, you can get value early. So you just got to keep an eye out for those bets.
All right, let's do our dog parlay, and we'll wrap this thing up. For our dog parlay of the week, my boy John is rolling with North Texas to get the dub against Army. I am going to be riding with Vanderbilt at home. Riding the Commodore train finally, 11 weeks in, getting the dub against South Carolina, and my boy Jose riding with my boy Big John's Kansas Jayhawks from the past 3 years.
It's John's old team versus
old
John's
team.
new team.
Yeah,
against
that's right.
his new team, Iowa State.
Iowa State. My boy,
no,
3-point dogs.
My new team's Colorado.
Damn, that switch up went. That switch up happened fast, bro. That comes out to 13-1 plus 1,300. So, if you want to sprinkle a little bit on that, feel free to do so. This got some pretty good, decent chance of hitting there for those 3 games. Once again, appreciate everybody tuning in to the pod, to the live show on YouTube. Hope everybody enjoys it as much as we enjoy doing it. We'll be back next week on normal time on Wednesday night. This week was absolutely hectic, so we're a day behind. We apologize for that. But next week, we'll be back on normal time, Wednesday night, 8:30 Central Time, 9:30 Eastern. Coming back, everything is plugged for Action Network, Twitter. Everything will be posted on there. Go give us a follow, all our personal actions and Reddit, because everything is posted for free for you guys. So if you want to take any of the bets that we're taking, go follow us on there. Everything is free. You can get everything online. So once again, appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll be back next Wednesday, back on schedule next week for our another live show here on YouTube. So good luck to everybody betting this weekend. We'll be back.
Later.
Go Zags.